societies who know how to care for their new moms, this is how they care for their new moms. And that's been a little bit missing in this part of the world, I would say. My mission is to re-educate and reclaim it for us because it really does impact the rest of our life as women.
I'm Jo Sarah, and welcome to the Umaversity podcast, empowering you with real talk, real education, and real stories from our experts and our tribe of women who've got your back.
Yes.
Our mission? Educating 1 billion women worldwide on their mental, body, and sexual wellness journey.
Yeah.
So join me, learn something new as we build our badass tribe. Welcome to the Umaversity podcast. Today we'll be talking about the essential postpartum needs, but also the practical tips on how to prepare emotionally and physically, and how to create a nurturing environment with your partner to navigate this journey. And today I'm with expert Danielle Bensky, who is a postpartum doula and a mother's mentor. And Danielle's all about bringing peace, joy, and invaluable support to families as they transition into parenthood. She's here to help us understand this transformative period called postpartum and how we can support ourselves and others through it. Welcome, Danielle.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm feeling really good today. How are you feeling?
I'm doing really well.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you're here because you have a beautiful story to tell and a lot of expertise around this topic. To start off, how did you actually start becoming a postpartum doula and a mother's mentor?
I became a postpartum doula after my daughter was born, so officially started working, but the training I did actually before she was born. So I always loved mothers and pregnancies. I was always fascinated by the round belly, and it was something I was drawn to. And then later I had found out that I actually have a lineage around this topic.
Oh.
My mom wanted to be a midwife when she was younger. And then later on, she also helped create a website when websites were a new thing. She created a website about breastfeeding. And then she herself also breastfed 2 of her kids until like later on. And she had an interest in this topic herself. And not so long ago, I found out that my grandmother was giving childbirth preparation courses as part of being a nurse.
No way.
And she would support families in preparing for childbirth. And then also afterwards, she worked in the local GGD of where she was living to check up on babies. So there's always been a connection to babies and pregnancy and children in my mother's lineage. So
And is there also like a cultural aspect
Not
to it,
necessarily. No. It's something they've both been drawn to. And then my grandmother from my dad's side is also really about connection and working with people. She was a social worker. So
you were born with it, basically, in your genes.
It was always a calling for me. And also when I was doing my bachelor in psychology, one of my favorite courses was the parent-child relationship or something like this it was called. And yeah, it's somehow been with me for a long time. But I officially trained a little bit before my daughter was born, my firstborn. And then in the postpartum period with her, I was so grateful to have already learned these things from my training. And I could feel it on myself, everything I had learned. And that was really reassuring and really helpful, actually. So that's a bit about how I started doing it.
Yeah. And so what is a postpartum doula?
Good question.
What do you do as a postpartum doula?
Yeah, good question. A postpartum doula supports the family right before birth, as I like to work, and also after the birth for about 2 months. And that can be at a frequency of once a week or twice a week or 3 times a week, really kind of going with what the family wants. But I like to stay at least 6 to 8 weeks because this is the immediate postpartum time. And I want to be able to see the improvement in the state of the family. And I want to be able to support until the end of that sort of sacred window of time, as it's been called.
Yeah. The 40 days.
The 40 days. Yeah, exactly that. And so when I come to the house after birth and the visits that I do, I can cook a warm meal, I give a warm hug when needed, I listen to whatever is going on with the family, particularly the mother or the birthing person, but also partners and children. So I can do light house chores, I can teach how to wear the baby. I also bring some knowledge of aware parenting, which is a concept of parenting that I'm very, very interested in. Not yet officially trained, but very, very interested in myself for my family and also to spread the message. And I love that I can bring aspects of that to a very young family, because many families only come to aware parenting when the child is a little bit older. And I'm so grateful that I really can come in the early days and weeks to introduce this philosophy to them. And that is a philosophy that can help with understanding your baby better and your baby's needs, understanding why they may be crying, which is a big aspect and a big question for many new families.
Yeah.
So I give massages. I'm not an official massage therapist, let's say, so I don't call it massage, but in a way, yes, I do like a body rub, you could call it. It still feels beautiful and nurturing, of course, in any way. So that I also do. And I can, if you imagine like the mother's laying on her side and maybe breastfeeding the baby in bed, and I'm there giving her this warm touch and love, which is really important for new moms, as we will discuss later, then this is something I also do. And then I didn't say, but I will go back a bit in time, like before the birth. This is also a really important part of time where I enjoy starting to work early so that we can first get to know each other for the postpartum time. Mm-hmm. And second of all, so I can help you prepare. Because as much as I would like to be the only solution, I cannot be your entire village.
Yeah.
And as I said, I can be the 1 to 3 times a week with you there, but realistically, you need more help. So as a postpartum doula, I can be that person of contact. It's a little bit like the maid of honor. When we imagine weddings, right? Mm-hmm. And the maid of honor helps you organize your wedding. So as a postpartum doula, I can be that person to help you organize your postpartum. So we can together create your village and create your support and plan for you things like a meal train, which I can explain later also what it is. That's another part of what I do in the pregnancy time. We kind of envision together, what do I want for my postpartum? What will I even need?
Yeah.
So that's also a really important part of starting to work in pregnancy.
What a beautiful and thankful job, actually.
I love it.
Yeah, you're really making such a beautiful impact on so many women and new mothers. And so what is a mother's mentor?
The mother's mentor part is for women to be able to continue working with me until the baby is 1 or even 2 years old. Because we know that the relationship with the mother and the baby stays very, very close for 1,000 days. So 1,000 days from conception. And that's until 2 years old.
Wow.
So we really see the symbiotic relationship between mother and baby until age 2. And I really love to support and continue to support women also after the first 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Because motherhood is just starting. And there are still plenty more challenges to come. This is where I take a lot of my knowledge from psychology, from aware parenting, and I support the families and the mothers in continuing to listen to them and in continuing to be there for them and to give them the tips and advice and even just the empathy, because often we really just want to be heard. Mm-hmm. We really just want to be heard and acknowledged and celebrated and loved unconditionally, even when we're angry and sad and frustrated and overwhelmed and all these feelings that typically society rejects. And as parents, and when we were a kid, maybe our feelings were rejected by our parents. So we just want to be loved. So this is something I try to offer, or I aspire to offer to my mentees and the people who I guide, because often that's what we want more than advice.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of unsolicited advice for new mothers from society, from non-mothers, from already very experienced mothers, and it's just nicer to have support instead of advice.
Yeah. So this is what I do in the mentoring. So we can do like a session once a month or once every 2 weeks. And in that time, either it's online or if it's face to face in my vicinity, then I also combine it with something for the body. So it can be some kind of postpartum treatment, either a massage, as I mentioned, or some other postpartum treatments that I will go into a bit later as well.
Wow, really beautiful. I absolutely love what you do and how you support mothers. So what are the needs that mothers have during postpartum? Doesn't matter what culture or age they're from. What are the universal needs?
So actually, when we look at different cultures around the world, we see that mothers have different needs and similar needs at the same time. So there are 5 universal needs that women have in postpartum. The first is the need for extended period of rest, around 30 to 40 days. The next one is the need for touch, like a loving touch, like a hug or a massage, this kind of thing. And then the third one is nourishment, like really good food, nourishing food. The fourth one is the need for connection with nature. And the last one, really, really important one, is the need for companionship. So those are the 5 universal postpartum needs. And we really can identify that they exist in many, many cultures.
Wow.
that we see. Societies who know how to care for their new moms, this is how they care for their new moms.
Wow.
And that's been a little bit missing in this part of the world, I would say. My mission is to re-educate and reclaim it for us, because it really does impact the rest of our life as women.
Yeah, and can you explain the 5 universal needs more in depth? I'm really curious as to why these needs are there and why they're important to acknowledge.
Yeah. Whoa, so many reasons. So the one of rest, as I said, it's about 30 to 40 days of rest. And we see that literally, that's the first thing. That's a really, really important part of it. And the why is it so important? For a few reasons. One is the physical healing. So there's less gravity on the uterus and on the pelvic floor. So that allows your pelvic floor to heal. So when you're pregnant, the baby's weight and the amniotic sac and the placenta, all of it has an extra weight on the pelvic floor muscle, which can also be called a pelvic trampoline, which is maybe a more accurate description of what it actually is. But that's a whole different topic. So when we give birth, we want our muscles to recover. Right? And 6 weeks is usually the amount of time needed for any part of our body to recover. If somebody breaks a leg or has a surgery, usually doctors recommend 6 weeks. It's the same.
Yeah.
So this is really important. And when we are more stagnant and more like laying down on the sofa or the bed, then the pressure and the gravity is less present. So that's one, like healing your body physically. The second thing about rest is that it allows you to bond with your baby. So when we are out and about, trying to leave the house, trying to do things, trying to host, our attention is taken away from this new human. And the best way to understand, or maybe not I don't want to say the best way, but what I like to recommend is that when you have this time to, for a second, look at your baby and understand your baby and connect with your baby, then you get to know them better. So this is how you understand better their needs, as I was saying earlier. This is how we understand better, okay, is my baby now hungry? Is my baby needing connection? Is my baby maybe having needing to change a diaper? And of course, it facilitates the breastfeeding. Like for me, this is important, unless the mother says, for sure, I don't want to breastfeed for whatever reason. But I always like to try to facilitate and support the breastfeeding. And for sure, this time that you have with your baby at home without a shirt, skin to skin, is a really essential part to breastfeeding. It's not just a nice to have. It's essential to helping breastfeeding establish. And we know that milk supply takes 6 weeks to fully establish. And so imagine a situation where we're not giving this time to rest and we're not giving this time to bond. This gets a little bit disrupted. So that's one of the other reasons that rest is really important and being home. And the last reason I'm going to mention is the emotional overwhelm. So it's a huge transition. Like a lot has just happened. First of all, the birth itself, which could go in many different kind of ways. And you could leave the birth feeling very, very euphoric, very sad, very tired, very disappointed, very happy. Like you don't really know until it's happened. So you have that to recover from. Maybe you were awake for many, many hours for your labor. And also, this new role that you now have, this new identity. We all maybe have heard of the baby blues. That's a pretty common term that many people recognize. So there's all the emotions about that are happening. So when we try to do less and minimize in this time period, especially the first 4 weeks, if not 6 to 8, then we can try to decrease what we are exposed to and focus a little bit more inward. That's why people call it the baby bubble, because you stay within this nest of your cozy home, which hopefully you can create a cozy environment that feels loving and supportive. That's the rest.
The universal need of 40 days of rest is very important as you say, yeah. And so what about the other universal needs?
The next one I can think of is the nourishment. And that's the food, what we eat, right? So of course we are what we eat. We all know this. And similarly to how we care for ourselves in the pregnancy with nutrition or with supplements and vitamins that we take for pregnancy, postpartum nutrition is equally more important, if not more important, because we are really healing. And you cannot heal on tosti.
No.
You cannot heal on broodje.
Yeah.
Sorry to all the Dutch people.
Yeah, so that's in Dutch. It's
sandwich.
It's like cheese sandwich or just a piece of bread,
which is a very Dutch meal. So we really want to emphasize the food that is recommended is food that is cooked, soft, and warm. So it's easy to digest.
So cooked, soft, and warm is what you should eat.
Yeah.
As a food.
Yes,
nutrition.
That's the basic guideline. There are now many different recipes that you will find, but this is the core, because what happens is our energy goes elsewhere when we give birth and after for the healing. So it's not so much in the intestines. And so if we put something that requires a lot of digestion effort,
like bread
or cold vegetables or raw food, then we are straining our body a little bit. And also it makes it harder for our body to extract from that the nutrients that the body needs. This is why this type of food is recommended. So you can think, for example, a slow cooker. It's a great buy when you are preparing for postpartum, because you can make a bunch of different stews and you can make soups. And that's also really nice. And you can drink a broth. So chicken broth or this kind of thing. There are also vegetable broths. But definitely collagen is a really good thing for your body after birth. Helps the tissue repair. Anything with calcium is really, really important, especially for breastfeeding moms. Iron is very important too, especially after blood loss. So everybody will lose blood after birth. There's different amounts, but there's always some blood loss after birth. And the last one is healthy fats. It's really important as well for our gut and for our brain. Yeah, so that's really important. So like avocados and nuts and olive oil is kind of this kind of stuff. Ghee.
Can you also eat raw salmon at this point? Because you can't do it during pregnancy, right? So
yes, when you're pregnant, eating raw salmon does pose a risk. So many women do indeed wait for the raw salmon. I would encourage you to wait just a little bit longer, if you can, because indeed, nothing bad will happen, but it will be harder on your body. Maybe we'll feel a bit not so nice.
It's also not a warm food.
It's not warm, no.
Yeah, that's true.
So I would encourage, if you can, postpone it a little bit longer. So yeah, that would be my answer.
But you can cook it in the oven and then have it still, right?
Yeah, sure.
It's just a question because I love sushi.
Yeah.
And I just want to know, when can I have my sashimi and my nigiri and stuff? So then I'll have to wait a bit more longer.
I would suggest, if you can.
Yeah. So what kind of supplements are really good to take during postpartum?
Well, first of all, you can continue with your pregnancy supplements. That one is a pretty good one to take. But as I said, the calcium is super, super important. And there's also things like the omega-3 fatty acids and things like this.
Iron,
as I said as well. So these are really the ones that are core in the postpartum to keep taking. And you can definitely keep taking your pregnancy vitamins as well, prenatals, whatever they're called.
So the nourishment is very important to have foods that give your body energy and don't cost your body energy. So it's warm, nutritious, fatty, collagen rich, vitamin rich, all of that, and also iron rich. That's okay.
And if you can have it made by somebody who loves you,
to have extra love in your
then
food.
It would be changes the taste.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's something really important. So when I do work with parents on how to prepare for postpartum, we take these 5 needs and explain them. And then I ask, how can we meet those needs?
Yeah.
And so we use those 5 parts as pillars in preparation. So we really look at, how can I make sure that I will have these nourishing foods, because I can't stand in the kitchen when I'm with a newborn baby.
Yeah.
You will not be able to stand in the kitchen with a newborn baby, in case you thought you would be. So this is important to say, like, plan to prepare and to have this food ready. For example, cooking and freezing is a really good option. When I was pregnant with my second son, with my second child, my son, I bought a standalone freezer that I plugged in my living room, and I cooked a lot during my pregnancy to freeze. So that's a really good way. Another way is the meal train. I already mentioned meal train. Meal train is when you Have your friends cook for you, friends, family, whoever you want. You can make a link. There's beautiful websites to help you with this. You make a link which is for you, and people sign up there to bring you food. And also you get a nice knock on the door from somebody to say hello, and you get a nice meal. And I think for me, the meal train was, for my own birth postpartum experience, was so nourishing, emotionally and literally. So yeah, I really recommend that to people as well.
Wow. And what about the third universal need?
Companionship. Wow, this is a really big one. So important. I love talking about this need because it goes directly into the idea that we were not meant to do this alone. Putting mothers in 4 walls alone with a newborn baby goes against every single thing your cells in your body expect. They expect a village. We expect support. We expect to be seen. We expect to be mentored. And when we live in this way of blocks of apartments, we don't have this as much as we really want. So companionship is so needed in postpartum, and it really makes a huge difference to the emotional well-being and mental health of a new mother, radically. So how can we prepare to have this support? One beautiful thing I love is a mother's blessing. A mother's blessing is something we do in pregnancy time before the birth, and it can be kind of compared to a baby shower, except we are focusing on the mother here. We are focusing on supporting the mother in preparation for the birth. And if you gather the women around you who you want to have also as your postpartum support people, then we can start to talk about postpartum already in this mother blessing. We can maybe already plan who will cook you what for the meal train. We can already have people signing up for the meal train during the mother blessing. I also love to use what's called the 7 Sisters for 7 days. It's a concept. It's actually based on a book called 7 Sisters for 7 days. And the idea is that you try and find a list of 7 people in your life who can have 1 day of the week to be there for you in your postpartum time. Either to come by with the food, or to come by and help if you have older children, or to come by and walk the dog, or to delegate some hours of that person's day to the postpartum family. And then you can do that maybe for a period of a few weeks. This concept, I think, really makes it tangible because it gives people some practical way to plan for that time. So that is a really, really nice way to do as well, to plan for that companionship so you don't feel alone.
Yeah, so create your postpartum family either through having a mother's blessing, which I love the name. I absolutely love the name. Like another thing is 7 days of 7 sisters, right? Yeah. I never saw it like that when that mother is, when they're in the four walls of their house, how much they could need it. Way back in history, we were in our tribe.
Yes.
In the village. So you would have that. You wouldn't have those 4 walls.
No.
Our whole system is based on that, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
And our baby expects that too. Like in a way, our baby is born with a certain set of expectations as well. And one of the expectations that the babies have is to be close to the mother, to be held, to feel. Babies cannot see that you are existing if they don't touch you and hear you and smell you. Yeah. So if the baby is left alone on somewhere and doesn't see or hear or smell you or touch you, they don't know you exist. They don't know you went to the other room for a moment.
Yeah.
And you're coming back, right? So that's why many babies want to be sleeping on the parents. And then this is also very exhausting. Why? Because we are 1 parent, maybe 2.
Yeah.
So imagine we had a village and many people could hold the baby.
It's also good for like the beginnings of socializing, right?
Of course. Yeah. We are social beings.
Yeah.
We really like this connection. This is how we thrive. This is how humankind survived and out-survived, many other species. It's a big part of us and what we need. And that's why it's a universal need. It's so core. Another thing you can do is look for mothers groups. And there are a lot in different cities. You can keep looking because you will find them. There are groups for new mothers, and you can also start going in pregnancy. I think that's a really beautiful thing, to go to the mothers group with small babies already when you're pregnant. So if you have maternity leave starting already in pregnancy, that's a really beautiful time to look for these groups and start going. So when you have your baby and you feel ready to join, it's already a familiar place for you.
Yeah.
Maybe to say one more thing about the companionship, I would also add a word about boundaries here.
So important.
Yeah. It's important to think who you are inviting into your space. And each one knows their own family best and their friendship circles best. And so it's important to check in with yourself during pregnancy time already, if you can. Who is somebody I'm going to feel comfortable with to have by my side? Who is somebody I'm comfortable with that will see me healing from birth, that will see my breasts because I might be breastfeeding and having my boobs out? Who is somebody I'm comfortable that will hold my hand while I wobble to the toilet? These kind of questions to see me raw and vulnerable. And who is somebody that makes me feel good? And also then to have these conversations before the birth, if you can. That's why I love working in pregnancy, because there's a lot we can do in preparation.
Yeah.
To talk about this, to send this message, hey, I've been thinking about my postpartum and I read that I need help. And I'm curious, would you like to support me? Here's what I think I would need support with relating to the 5 universal needs.
Yeah.
Maybe I would need you to come over once a week. Would you be willing?
Yeah.
To talk about that already with the friends or with family members. I can share about my postpartum with my son. With my daughter, I would have loved to have it, but it was 2020, and that was Corona.
Oh, yeah.
So I couldn't have it exactly like this. But with my son, I got postpartum that I really dreamed of, because I had somebody with us for 6 weeks. The whole time, somebody was always with us. First, it was my mom who came for 2 weeks, and then it was my brother who came for a week, and then it was my husband's sister, and then my other brother, and then finally my dad and my sister. So we were living somewhere away from them, so they all came, and they came just for us. I think that also made a very special time in that sense. That
beautiful support.
Yeah, that they left whatever they're doing, their work, their social life, everything, and they came for just that dedicated time to our house. And I understand that it's not for everyone, or not everyone can have that, and not everyone has maybe a relationship with the family in this way, but I just want to show what's possible and that you really deserve that support. We can go very deep into accepting help and wanting help and what society says about receiving help and accepting help. And I work with my clients on this as well. What are you telling yourself about receiving help? Do you feel worthy of help? Do you feel like you deserve it? What did you grow up hearing about receiving help, or about rest, for example, if we talk about the other need? Many people grew up hearing that resting is unproductive. So of course it will be hard to rest for a few days or a few weeks, even if, a whole month. People can go crazy.
Yeah. So what about touch? The universal need touch?
Yeah, touch. We see that often as some kind of massage, but also I like to apply it also in like a kind of traditional postpartum treatments that we can apply here in this need. So, for example, when we look at the Indian Ayurvedic culture, we see women getting massages every day for 40 days after they give birth with like very warm oils. And so warmth is also part of this. As I said, with the food, warmth is a really important part of postpartum, in the touch, in the food we eat. So we really want to help mom feel warm and cozy with this massage, or with stimulating the blood flow. Another thing we can do with touch is, for example, treatment of Yoni steaming, vaginal steaming, which is when we boil some specific herbs, let them brew in boiling water, and then we sit on top of a chair, which has a very convenient hole, which we can sit and expose the vulva and perineum area too, which is an area which can get maybe hurt a little bit during the birthing process. So the herbs and the steam with the herbs very much soothes that area. And also it's said that some of the steam even travels up the vagina and towards the uterus area, and can really help also with healing of the uterus as well. So this treatment is also really beautiful in postpartum, and I do consider it as part of touch.
It's a very universal treatment because it's in a lot of cultures. I do know that the Western world sometimes frowns upon this practice because it's not scientifically proven and everything, and it can actually be damaging, they say, because you can burn your yoni or your vulva and stuff. Are there any tips that you have to help those mothers in the Western world try it as well?
A chair, having a good chair is important. So, you have the correct height between the warmth and yourself and your body. So that's, I think, is an important part of it. Somebody who was my postpartum doula, actually, and she suggested to me that in her tradition, what they do is that they don't actually boil the water with the herbs. They boil the water separately, and then they mix the herbs into the boiling water already in a different bowl, and then they leave that underneath. I think this is also in a way important because it lets you let it simmer a little bit or cool down a little bit or brew, and then you sit. So it's not as warm in that way. So maybe not dangerous with this kind of, you cannot hurt yourself in that way.
Exactly.
Looking at which herbs are good. And there's a website that I use and a place where I buy my supply, which is made especially, they sell just this chair and the herbs.
Yeah, exactly.
This is really their specialization.
Yeah.
So I think that's also really important. Yeah.
So when it comes to touch, it's really about feeling good in your skin, getting massages, but also healing your body through, for instance, Yoni steaming, vulva steaming, or vaginal steaming. What about the last universal need, being in nature?
Yeah, that one is the connection with nature. And that one is beautiful from different angles because I like it, for example, when you think about the connection to nature and the slow pace of nature. This is what I really appreciate about it. So when you look at a seed that's growing, it's growing very slowly. So we can also compare parenting to a seed growing. We can water it and we can give it the right environment. But in the end, the seed has its own genetic makeup of what tree or plant it's going to be. That's the personality of our child. Compared to the environment that we give, the water we give, and that's how we are as parents. So this I like this metaphor as well. And also the seasons. Appreciating the seasons of life and the seasons of the nature, the cyclical living. I really like to use the cyclical living in my work and to encourage women and families to remember that things are a season. Parenting can feel never ending, or this kind of like it will last forever. But it's important to remember that our babies are here to become adults.
Yeah.
So one day they will be like you. They will not stay like this forever. And that sometimes feels like forever. So the seasons, to really just remember, this is a season. The same way the seasons change. The tree, I have a beautiful tree outside my kitchen, and I've been enjoying so much to watch it change over these last months that I've been living there, because it's such a good reminder of how everything is changing. So that I think is really important in postpartum. And also because we're not going outside so much, it's nice to bring the outside inwards. So for example, if we are spending a lot of time sitting and breastfeeding, which you probably will be, it's nice to sit next to a beautiful window and enjoy the sunshine and enjoy that connection and watch people walking. And I think that's also really, really helpful. And another piece of nature is the herbs, which I just talked a little bit about already. Yeah, having those herbs with a good tea also is really nice. Sounds, the beautiful sounds that you love. Like maybe you really enjoy listening to the ocean sounds in your home, so you can put that on your Spotify playlist or something. And maybe you want to light a candle and connect to the elements of fire. So this kind of thing, and really connecting to what brings me joy in my postpartum time, to really make it to make your home feel like a sanctuary, because you spend a lot of time there in these 4 to 6 to 8 weeks.
So basically, getting close to nature is actually using nature to ground yourself, to go at your own pace and to respect that, and not to feel rushed by the outside world. But like
postpartum is a slow time. And I always say, when you feel like you're going slow, go slower. And that can be a very hard thing for many women to do.
I know it's going to be hard for me because I like to go fast. Yeah.
Especially for us career-oriented women, or people who are used to traveling a lot, or that can be really, really challenging. And I can also share again about myself that I remember my son was born in June, and that was really nice summer days. I thought, I would love to go to the beach with him, and I would love to be outside and enjoy the sun. And I was living in a country where we don't have so much sun.
FOMO was real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I just stopped and I said to myself, I'll have next summer. And I'll have a 1-year-old and we'll be at the beach and we'll enjoy. And now I need to be here.
Yeah.
This is where he wants me to be. This is where I want to be. This is the best thing for us now. And everything else can wait.
And do you have any tips for instance, women that are entrepreneurs and if they don't work, they sometimes don't earn the money or, you know, especially solo entrepreneurs?
Yeah, it can be definitely challenging. I don't have a
tips?
magical solution. Of course, delegation if you can. Maybe hire somebody to, if you can, to help you while you're away and to plan that really into your financials of the year or even of the next 2 years if you know you're going to be wanting to conceive.
What would it be the minimum time? Of course, you have the 6 to 8 weeks, but to get back into work.
As I said, we have a deep connection with our babies until 1,000 days. So that's until they are 2 years old. So unfortunately, many governments don't support this around the world and don't have a maternity leave that can sustain women for 2 years, I mean, not even 1. So women are sometimes not given really a choice, but to put the babies in some kind of care somewhere else so they can go and earn money. And then they pay money to that woman to be with the baby, even though they could have been with the woman, but they wouldn't have been paid.
Yeah, exactly.
This drives me totally crazy.
Yeah.
But this is the world of most governments we live in. This is what most governments do. But yeah, it's a very personal question and depending on your financials and depending on your philosophy and depending on how you feel. Some women don't feel like they can give that to their baby and they feel like their needs are not being met and that their needs would be met better if the child was in someone else's care. And that's also fine because our baby wants our needs to be met. That's the basic. The baby wants a mom who is happy and whose needs have been met. And I love that we're talking about the universal needs because I just thought about this a few days ago, actually, while listening to another podcast, that when we are preparing for our needs to be met in the postpartum, it's also a really beautiful preparation for motherhood. Because in motherhood, sometimes our needs are not being met so easily. And society sometimes says that it's either your baby's needs that are met or your needs that are met. You need to choose.
Yeah.
And I'm advocating that we can all meet our needs. And that if we all have our needs met, family life and parenting will be a much more beautiful, pleasant journey.
Yeah.
And so when we're talking about preparing to meet the postpartum needs, it's already starting to plant that seed again of, am I willing to have my needs met also then later as a mother? So yeah, this connection was really beautiful for me. And it's something I live with and I talk about and I support women to do all the time. How can I have more of my needs met so that I can be a more grounded, kinder mother?
Yeah, yeah.
Because when our needs are not met, then we are having some really big emotions and feelings. And then often that then goes out on our kids.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we are not so kind as we want to be. And then we make the mistakes our parents made, which we swore we would never make.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all human in the end of the day, but it's good to realize and be aware of this.
Yes, absolutely.
What is an interesting fact about postpartum care that often doesn't get mentioned?
Yes. I think I'm going to share the one about 2 years, that it takes our body actually around 2 years. 18 months to 2 years to fully recover from childbirth. When we talk about postpartum, I often like to say that it's the immediate postpartum because postpartum actually means after birth. So we are forever postpartum. So this immediate postpartum is the 6 to 8 weeks, but actually we keep having that connection with our baby for 2 years. And the World Health Organization also actually says or encourages or recommends people to have 2 years between their pregnancies. So to wait 2 years from birth to the next conception, because of this idea that it takes time to heal the tissues and the organs and the vitamins, replenish all of the vitamins and the minerals, And I like also to talk about on the energetic level. We have the energetic body, and we have how we were in birth, and that we had to really open ourselves in order to let this new life pass us, through us. And so it takes time for that to close again and to be ready then for another one to come. There's also the World Health Organization recommendation of breastfeeding for 2 years. So also that part of it, and also the 1,000 days, which I already mentioned. So this is something I think is really important for women to know, because we have a little bit of this bounce back culture, which I've seen changing a lot recently, but it's still there. And especially as we talked about career-oriented mindsets and things like this, which is still fantastic, of course. Like, I'm not in any way disencouraging that. But also just to understand that this is a very unique moment in our life of this early years of child development, and what they need from us as parents, and that this time will not come again in their life, and that they are so vulnerable and so dependent on us. So just to understand that the 6 weeks is the bare minimum, and it's just the beginning in the grand scheme of our baby's life and child's life.
Wow. That's a really good fact to know, because we don't get taught this at all. Oh, we have a community question. Let's hear it.
Hi. I'm about to have my first baby, and while I'm excited, I'm also overwhelmed with advice on how to take care of myself postpartum. How can I focus on essentials without feeling like I'm failing if I can't do it all?
Good question. If I had to boil down the essentials, I would again look at the 5 universal needs, those pillars, and I would definitely focus on these 3: the rest, the companionship, and the nourishment. I think those are the bare minimum and probably the most important core ones. So this is what I would say to you, our lovely listener, and our community question. So in relation to this comment about feeling like you're failing if you can't do it all, first of all, deep breath to that one, because that's a lot of pressure that this person is putting on themselves. So I really would encourage to look at, where is this coming from, this ideology and this thinking that you have to do it all. If not, then you're failing. And this is a really beautiful lesson into motherhood, and that you are in the end the decision maker of your family. So when I work with people, I love to say that you are the CEO of your family. You are the one who in the end has to live with the advice that you receive. You are the one who will be having to wake up at night and deal with the baby, and you will do whatever feels good for you. And everyone else around you is like an advisor or a consultant, and they can say their advice. But guess what? You will have to decide and make the decision for your family, like a CEO for a little company. Your family is your little company.
I love that analogy. I love that a lot.
Yeah. And sometimes it can be quite hard to take that responsibility. So I help families to make decisions in this kind of way. And this is something I would say as a feedback to this question, that you are the one making the decision. So you decide what's good for you. I want to add one more thing here for this question, and about the standards that we have. And that maybe if your standards for having something around the house done, or I don't know, something that your standards have been high, for example, or not even high, but whatever the standards are, I would encourage to rethink your standards and maybe consider lowering them. Just as an example, does the house always have to be tidy? What does it mean that the house is tidy? Does the laundry always have to be done? Can you have a moment when you don't do the laundry? This kind of thing, like having it all done. What is that all? What is this perfectionism? What are you aspiring to? And is that realistic? And does that serve you in the end of the day? Does it serve you to aspire to do that, or does it only hurt you because you feel like you are not good enough?
So strong.
Yeah.
That's such a good thing to think about. And if you do want the standard high, then it's important to delegate.
Delegation.
Find someone who does it for you. If you have the financial means, or a friend. But at that moment, during postpartum, it's not your responsibility.
No. No.
It's time to take care of yourself and the
Yes.
baby, right?
Yes.
And be the healthy CEO.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why I love this work also so much is because it throws you and it shakes you and it brings out all the stuff that you never wanted to look at or think about, and it just puts it in your face. You're like, here, mama, deal with this beep. Deal with your stuff. Because now you have to face everything. Like what you said, it's time to take care of yourself. There are a lot of people and women who, for them, it's really hard to pause and take care of themselves. And this task feels really challenging. So that on its own is a really beautiful opportunity. And motherhood is like a gift in that way.
To get to know yourself better and to go through all of your shadows. And get,
I see it as a huge growth opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's how I work too.
Speaking of taking care of yourself and setting boundaries, because you mentioned setting boundaries, right? I hear a lot of mothers, especially from their community, mention that they often get unsolicited advice from their own mother, from other women, from society. How do you navigate, for instance, when you get advice from your own mom that you maybe not agree with or that you don't want to hear? Because this is also hard, especially during postpartum. Everybody knows better, but you might want to navigate it yourself, or you just don't want to hear other people's opinions.
Yeah. I think the reason unsolicited advice is so hard is because we are still building up our identity as a mother. We are still unsure of ourselves. We are still not confident in ourselves. When you are confident and you are centered and you know who you are and you know what you believe in, then you don't care about the advice that they give. As I said, they're just advisors. You are in the end your CEO and the family's decision maker. So whatever they say, you hear it and maybe you take it and maybe you don't, but you stay on your course. And I think that's why it's so hard for new mothers to hear this advice, because they still don't know themselves. And it's a reminder that they don't know. And it feels very shaky. It shakes the confidence when somebody says something to you and somebody else says something else. And oftentimes the solicited advice are contradicting each other because there's so much out there. And it can feel very overwhelming for the first time. So building this confidence, which is a process. It really is a process to build the confidence. I felt it in myself. Like my second time parenting experience, I was way more confident because I was already so much more established in my role as a mom.
Yeah.
Like now I am mom. My mom is not mom anymore. My mom is grandma.
Yeah.
And when I noticed this shift, I was like, wow, okay, like I'm now mom.
Well, yeah, I never thought of it like that, but that's, you're getting a new role.
You are a whole new person.
Yeah.
100%.
So speaking of the preparations and getting to know yourself in this new role, what practical steps and emotional preparations can women take and do to prepare for this transition into motherhood?
First of all, it's beautiful if you can even start to think about preparing for postpartum and pregnancy, because oftentimes the birth is something that people mostly prepare for, and postpartum is a afterthought. And so just kudos to anybody who is thinking about postpartum in the pregnancy time. How can you prepare? You can start to gather your village. You can start to have this mother's blessing that we already mentioned. You can think, how can I meet these universal needs that I talked about in this podcast episode? You can already start to have conversations about boundaries, especially with your partner, if you have a partner. You can start to talk to your family. You can hire the support of a postpartum doula or a birth doula. You can start going to a therapist and start to talk about your own childhood experiences and your relationships in your life, because that will definitely show up. Your relationship with your partner is another one. Going to a relationship couples therapy in pregnancy or before. If you're even thinking about having a child in the future. You can do some courses that there are out there. I know in Amsterdam there is a course, for example, for parents, where I'm also teaching myself. So courses like this or ebooks. I myself have written an ebook on preparing for postpartum. So this is also another resource that people can use to emotionally prepare. But I have to say this, that yes, it's really important to prepare. And normalizing the postpartum experience, I think, is probably the biggest thing you can do to help yourself, to know that whatever is going on for you is most likely normal. That's very reassuring. So when you know what your needs are and what your baby's needs are and what is normal, typical newborn behavior, then you can feel a little bit more reassured that you are normal. And at the same time, to know that you cannot prepare 100% for such a big life event, for such a big transition. There's always an unknown. There's always this element of trust.
And go with the flow.
Going with the flow. And we never know what kind of new human will join our family. We don't know what their personality is, what their needs are, what is the birth story we're going to have. And all these things really, really impact. So you can do your best to prepare for what the things you do have control over or influence over. And also preparing for the unknown.
Preparing for the unknown.
Preparing to be okay with the unknown, which is very hard, especially for our 21st century people who are getting pregnant now.
Which I think self-compassion is a big one.
Self-compassion, yes, huge in parenting.
And letting go.
Yes, letting go of control. That was one of my biggest lessons. Huge, yeah.
Because you mentioned it already, do you have any holistic tips about early parenting? How to build a supportive partnership with your partner?
Yeah.
Like the co-parenting stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for that?
First of all, as I said already, the maybe couples therapy is a really good place to start. So I see the relationship between the couples, the parents, as the foundation of the family. And I can also feel it in my own family. When the partnership is good and strong and steady and loving, then we can sail through any challenge with our children. And when our relationship is a little bit like shaky, then everything feels so much harder. So this is such an important foundation for the family. And as I said already, our children want our needs to be met. Our children thrive in an environment of happiness and love and support. I would also add here something about guilt and resentment. It can be really challenging at first to accept the different roles. I think in our society, we often hear this message of equality between men and women. If you're in a heterosexual relationship, that we have different roles as women. And so when we come to the birthing time and the pregnancy time, we are really like mammals. So we are really thrown back to our mammalian roles. And sometimes that can be very different. And also how society is set up, right? With the shorter parental leave for the fathers usually, or the partner, we really see that there's a difference. And so maybe if mom is breastfeeding, for example, then they are waking up more at night than the other partner. So some resentment can start to build up between the partnerships or between the partners. And this is something that many, many parents I've talked to, and mothers especially, struggle with, this feeling like I'm doing much more. My life has changed much more than my partner's. I now have to be home and they can go out, or they are back at work and I am here with the baby. This kind of feeling that it's unfair, I think, is very shocking for many first-time parents. And again, communication around that is really important. Often we hear, when we ask the partner, we hear that they're also having a really hard time. That for them, it's not like fun to leave the partner alone at home with the baby. They're not doing it joyfully.
Yeah.
And they're also carrying their struggles on the other side as well. So that's about resentment. I would also add here, when you mentioned co-parenting, the image that comes to my mind is like a tango dance or a salsa dance, maybe more than tango. Salsa dance, because you know, you put one foot forward, and when you put your foot forward, the other person has to move their foot back, right?
Yeah.
And it's only when you take your foot back that the other person can put the foot forward. In my experience of talking to many mothers over these few years that I'm working, that because I used to host women's circles and mothers circles and mother support groups. And over there, I also a lot heard about the experience of women who say, like, my husband is not, or my partner is not supporting enough. I would like my partner to support more. And at the same time, they are not taking their foot back.
They're not allowing their partner to be more supportive.
Yeah. Remember the salsa dance. How much is the partnership allowing this back and forth movement? Like if we imagine the salsa dance, you know?
I absolutely love this analogy, this metaphor, because I love salsa dancing, and
me
it
too.
hit home for me. So I'm gonna from everything you've said, you've given so many gems. There's a few things that I will definitely take into my first pregnancy is I'm definitely going to do the mother's blessing, because that seems like such a beautiful thing to do.
Yes, it's gorgeous.
And I am definitely going to make sure that I have the 5 universal needs prepared for, but also let go of what I can't control. But as much as I can, prepare and talk to my village around me, my postpartum family. And I love that we all as women can prepare for mentally when we go into motherhood is becoming the CEO of your family, salsa dancing with your partner when it comes to co-parenting, looking at why do I think I want to do it all and I have to do it all, and actually putting yourself first, prioritizing yourself. I love that you said that because it benefits everybody in the family.
It benefits everyone. When mom is good, the rest follows through.
Exactly.
Really, it's usually like that. Yeah. It's a generalization, but it's usually like that.
Wow. Really beautiful lessons. Thank you so much, Danielle. Like, really great.
Thank you.
As we always do, I want to close this beautiful episode with some powerful affirmations. So repeat after me and say it with love. I honor this season of rest, healing, and transformation. I'm allowed to ask for help as I nurture myself and my baby. Until next time, Umas! If you enjoyed this video, it would be amazing if you could give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. And if you want to learn even more, join our community. Connect, share, and learn by joining our online and offline events. Be part of our WhatsApp community where you can meet other women and ask your burning questions to our experts, and by subscribing to our weekly educational newsletter. The links are all below, so feel welcome to join our Umaversity tribe.